In my early days of information technology, someone told me, a secure computer is one that is sealed in a concrete box with no windows and no door. That sounded a bit extreme, but yes, it is true. The only way to completely secure a computer is to completely isolate it. Unfortunately, that makes the computer inaccessible, disconnected, and useless. There is always a risk factor for anything that is accessible, connected, and useful. Risk is a part of utility. Therefore, risk must be managed. This principle holds true in card payments as well. Increased utility brings increased risk. In this video, I'll give you a 30,000-foot overview of the main areas of risk management in the card industry. Like disputes, risk management is a fascinating world within the world of card payments. Here are the three major risk management areas we will cover. Securing the perimeter. This aspect looks to secure buildings, devices, communication links, and data against unauthorized access. Protecting the front door. Transaction processing requires cardholders and merchants. However, it is critically important to make sure that the identities of these cardholders and merchants are validated before they are onboarded. Monitoring throughput. Transaction monitoring is the science and art of detecting and stopping fraud while enabling legitimate transactions. Who are the good guys? The good guys is a moniker typically given to law enforcement. Truly, over the past few decades, law enforcement and the legal practice have become much more aware of the danger and damage caused by crime in the payment space. However, in this video, the good guys we are talking about are the men and the women in the payments industry who fight financial crime daily, the people in risk management. Risk management is an umbrella term that covers several security and risk disciplines. Building or physical security. The team that ensures the physical security of the premises and that controls the access to them. Business continuity. This team focuses on potential disaster scenarios and how to recover from them. They maintain business continuity locations and processes to ensure the business and its security are not compromised by any unexpected incident. Information security. The team that focuses on securing the data, where it flows, how it is stored, when it is accessed, and ensuring sensitive data stays private. Fraud management. This team uses data and technology to identify and stop any unauthorized use of the data or data devices. In the card payments industry, fraud management also seeks to minimize exposure to fraudsters and their attacks. Enterprise risk management. There are two streams of enterprise risk management. Data risk management. This team looks at the physical and logical data flows to analyze if they are within acceptable risk tolerances. Financial risk management. This team tracks the flow of finances to ensure corporate liquidity stays within the defined risk tolerances. CAMLO. The Chief Anti-Money Laundering Officer and support staff define processes and monitor activity to identify, document, and stop money laundering, terrorist financing, and other illegal financial activities. Many of the risk management and security requirements these teams use have been documented in certification and legislation requirements. We will refer to some of those in this video. Who are the bad guys? So, who are the good guys protecting the payment system from? There are several categories of criminals who have found business in the payment space. The people in each of these categories may be amateurs. Anyone from a teen who has discovered the dark web to an individual anarchist who wants to do damage to the establishment. Criminal syndicates and cartels. With fraud numbers like $20 billion in play, organized crime has been a significant player in the payments industry. Cooperation between syndicates has been documented as different criminal businesses have specialized in specific aspects of criminal activity in the payment space. Government-sponsored crime. As the payments industry has become larger, more international, and more electronically based, government-sponsored criminal activity has joined in the action. Their criminal goals may be to direct funding to a sanctioned country or a terrorist group. It may also be to disrupt an enemy country's payments infrastructure. So, what do the bad guys do? Fraud. As we will cover shortly, there are different types of fraud. Essentially, fraud is the act of unauthorized entities doing transactions on stolen or bogus card credentials to get merchandise or cash. Hacking. There are several definitions for hackers. A hacker can be a person who has IT skills and uses them in a non-standard way. There are hackathons, where teams of IT specialists brainstorm to create new programs in a timed competition. There are other hackers called ethical hackers who test security of IT systems and infrastructures. Those are not the hackers we're talking about. We're talking about the other hackers, unauthorized people who break into computer systems. These criminal hackers steal data. This is known as an account data compromise or ADC event in the payments industry. Typically, the data is resold on the dark web. These criminal hackers lock down a computer system with ransomware. This type of attack is becoming much more common in many industries and many countries. And these criminal hackers insert malicious code into a computer system. One criminal team did this about a decade ago and used that code to fund 8 prepaid cards. They then cloned those 8 cards and used the resulting 100 cards to withdraw about $40 million from ATMs around the world in 24 hours. Phishing. The name for this category of crime is a play on the word for fishing. Like fishing, phishing requires a lure, like someone masquerading as your bank, bait, like an impending loss of money from your account, and a hook, like giving them your card and PIN to remedy the urgent situation. Once the criminal has the payment card credentials, they either drain all the money from the account or go on a fraud shopping trip. Though this type of crime was first phone-based, hence the PH in phishing, it has expanded to email, SMS, social media, and other forms of communication. Money laundering. Criminals set up bogus merchant accounts and legitimate merchant accounts to route dirty money from crime to make its criminal link disappear. Prepaid cards are another tool that criminals use to launder funds. Stealing intellectual property and doing research. Sometimes the security breaches are for research purposes. The bad guys may be testing out a new attack method, stealing intellectual property for resale or cloning, or just gathering information for future criminal activity. So, where are the battlegrounds for this fight between good and bad? Securing the perimeter. Risk management begins with securing the physical buildings and devices that house and route the data. If these are not secure, then all other layers of risk management become meaningless and useless. This security requirement applies to all primary and backup locations and devices. All must be secured. ISO 27001 documents the following areas of physical security. Entrance security, getting into the building. How easy is it to access the building? What validation processes are used to make sure that only authorized people have access? How is access or attempted access to the building recorded and tracked? Public access areas. These are the more public areas of the building, like reception areas and loading docks. These are accessible to many people. Therefore, effective guest registration and area surveillance are required to document who, when, why, and how these areas were accessed. Secured areas. These are the areas where the data is stored and where the equipment moving the data is installed. What clearance is required to enter the secured area? What level of active surveillance is in place? How do you keep people exactly where they're supposed to be in the secured area? Equipment security. One secured area will likely have many pieces of equipment for different functions. How are the cabinets identified to prevent accidentally accessing the wrong equipment? Are all the cabinets locked to prevent unauthorized access? Any devices that cannot be locked up, like POS terminals, are they secured so that it cannot be easily opened, removed, or replaced? Maintenance of security equipment and security processes. Security equipment is only good when it works. Security processes are only effective when they are up to date. What is the maintenance schedule for the equipment? Security procedures need to be regularly reviewed and updated. What is the cadence of these reviews? Next, data security is the layer on top of physical security. In the card payments industry, PCI-DSS is the current data and device security protocol. PCI security includes physical and logical security requirements surrounding the creation, storage, and delivery of payment cards, card data, and payment tokens. Encryption key requirements for cards, tokens, terminals, and communication links. PIN security and encryption requirements throughout the complete authorization path. PCI 3D Secure Protocol for e-commerce transactions, physical and logical security requirements for different POS devices, dedicated units, mobile units, and phone or tablet-based POS applications. EMV is another technology protocol with stringent security requirements. This protocol covers the requirements for payment cards with EMV chips, as well as contactless cards and device-based tokens on phones, tablets, or smart watches. This protocol also has physical, logical, and security requirements for any POS terminals accepting EMV cards. So, where does this level of security happen? Any building or device that card and transaction data reside in or travel through, these need to be secure. Let's use the list of transaction participants from my Where Does a Transaction Go video to create a partial list. For the merchant, the store is a public access area with secure equipment like POS terminals. What level of video monitoring and recording exist in the store? Are the POS terminals and card readers secured in place? Are the POS terminals EMV compliant and PCI compliant? Larger stores will likely have a telecommunications room, which is a secured area. How is access to this room limited? Is it locked? What process or technology must be used to access the room? How is access to this room documented? Is it video recorded? Is there a manual or automated log of who accessed the room, when, and why? Is the telecom room and any associated IT infrastructure PCI compliant? The acquirer, network, and issuer share similar requirements. Are the data centers and any supplementary equipment sites ISO 27001 and PCI-DSS compliant? Are all communication links handling PIN with correctly configured host security modules? Is all EMV data handled according to PCI and EMV requirements? Do all the risk management roles exist in the company and are they operating effectively? What emergency notification procedures exist for any identified risk, fraud, or disaster events? What disaster recovery facilities and processes exist? Are they secured? Are they tested regularly? Each of these participants may also have additional service providers. They too must meet these security requirements. Protecting the front door. Payment cards are designed to be used. That can only happen if cardholders have them and merchants accept them. But how do you make sure the person requesting a card or the merchant asking for a payment terminal is legitimate? Fake cardholders and fake merchants are tools used by criminals for money laundering, terrorist financing, and fraud. The best place to identify and stop them is during the enrollment process. Governments have rules that detail what card issuer or a merchant acquirer must do to verify the validity of the person or business they are onboarding. These rules break into 3 categories. Know your customer. KYC requirements include collecting and validating personal data about the individual or business applying to ensure they are exactly who they represent themselves to be. Anti-money laundering. On a merchant level, this includes validating the business revenue sources and the type of business being run. On a merchant and cardholder level, the AML checks are ongoing even after the onboarding, constantly looking for suspicious money movements. Sanctions watch lists. Countries have sanctions lists of companies and individuals who are banned from doing business in that country. The onboarding process for merchants must include verifying that no entity on that list has an ownership position in the merchant business. On a cardholder level, the cardholder's personal information is checked against these lists as well. Most of the front door activities take place during the onboarding process. However, any account change activities like address change, issuing a new card, issuing a card token for a phone, or change in the merchant's business definition, these can trigger the front door activities to be done again. Monitoring throughput. In 2023, close to $20 trillion ran through payment card networks worldwide. The vast majority of those transactions were legitimate. Real people did real transactions with real merchants. Only a small percentage of those transactions were fraudulent. If we assume a fraud rate of 10 basis points, that's 0.1%, that would make payment card fraud a $20 billion industry in 2023. That kind of money not only draws amateurs but also international criminal cartels to the business of criminal payment activity. Fraud is a very real risk in the card payments industry. Losses of millions of dollars to fraud can happen in less than an hour for any issuer or acquirer who is not vigilant on monitoring and rejecting fraud. Here are some examples I have seen. Every time we would activate a new BIN for a new card product, the first attempted transactions would always be from the fraudsters, just minutes after the card BIN would go live. They were testing the issuer's system for vulnerabilities. This testing would continue forever, as long as the BIN was in production. I've watched issuers lose $1 million to fraudsters in a few days, and in a few hours. I have seen stores where a fraudster switched a point-of-sale card reader without the clerk even noticing. The replacement reader allowed the criminal to collect card data to make fraudulent cards. As we touched on in my video on disputes, there are several different types of fraud. Fraud by an unknown party. This type of fraud can occur in a number of ways. The cardholder's card may have been lost or stolen and someone else is using it. The fraudster got valid card information by breaking into a merchant's payment system and stealing the data. That data was then used in fraudulent transactions. This is called skimming or account data compromise, depending on the size of the breach. Account takeover is when the fraudster contacts the card issuer and cons them into shipping a replacement card. The fraudster intercepts that card and starts shopping. A fraudster buys a legitimate credit card from a gullible person. Yes, that actually happens. The fraudster then initiates a bust-out fraud attack with that card. Some fraudsters create fake card numbers and test them through merchants in an attempt to fool an issuer into approving a transaction. In brute force attacks, fraudsters will quickly send thousands of authorizations attempting to overwhelm the issuer's computer system. They are trying to get an approved authorization in the midst of the mayhem. Friendly fraud. This one is not complicated. Someone who is known to the cardholder has legitimately or illegitimately used that card for a transaction without telling the cardholder. I've seen this happen when a parent set up their card number on their child's gaming system account. The child then began purchasing games online without telling their parent. A kid borrows a parent's credit card to pick up something at the store. Oh, they didn't ask before they borrowed it, so the parent doesn't know it's gone. If someone in my household accesses my Amazon account and uses the card on file, my card, to purchase something without telling me, that is friendly fraud. Cardholder fraud. The cardholder did the transaction but now claims they didn't. Unfortunately, this type of fraud is on the rise. It is a sad commentary on the failing moral health of our society. Every legitimate participant in the card payments industry has tools in place to monitor transactions so that they can block fraud attempts. Payment industry security standards like PCI-DSS are regularly updated to better protect the card payments participants. While these standards are very strict, they are actually considered minimum security standards. E-commerce security protocols like 3D Secure are increasingly being used by merchants, acquirers, and issuers to make it more expensive for fraudsters to perpetuate their crime. Merchants, payments networks, and issuers use fraud detection tools to monitor card activity and flag any transactions that don't match typical historical behavior. Here are two personal examples. Number 1. I was shopping at a face-to-face merchant in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Next, my issuer received a face-to-face transaction from a South American country using my card. That last authorization was declined and flagged as fraudulent because it is impossible to be in those two places at the same time. Number 2. I'm a regular shopper at Home Depot and Lowe's. I can spend $15 to $160 there per purchase. One day, I purchased the deluxe yard shed kit for $2,600. My issuer called me immediately to make sure it was me making the purchase. It was not my typical purchasing behavior. Today, AI solutions and real-time fraud alerts are augmenting the merchant, payment network, and issuer fraud detection systems. These enhancements can respond to unique fraud attacks immediately, closing the door before the fraudster can monetize their access. While fraud fighting is the front lines of the war against criminals, there are other active participants securing the transaction throughput. Information security and data risk management teams work tactically and strategically to ensure that data is kept secure at all times. Data encryption, security keys on payment cards and terminals, activity monitoring for any anomalies. These are tools used by these teams to reduce data vulnerability. The CamLog team makes sure that all onboarding procedures comply with AML and watch list requirements. They are also involved in forensic investigations into suspicious cardholder or merchant behavior. Meanwhile, financial risk management teams watch over the daily flow of approved transactions to ensure that they do not put the corporate liquidity and cash flow at risk. These teams also watch for unusual transaction amounts and unexpected increases in activity that could be caused by fraud. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, risk management is an industry within the payment card industry. It is really fascinating. It is also very intricate, way more complex than a 101 video can cover. However, I hope this video has given you a high-level view of risk management and its role in the card payment industry. If you found this video helpful, please click the like button and subscribe to this channel. If you have more questions about the payment industry, leave me a message in the comments below. You can also contact me through my website, mentoredbymarkt.com, or via email, markt@mentoredbymarkt.com.